All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Friday, June 6th of 2025. Looking ahead here, we have a big 12-game MLB slate ready to get underway later today. We have Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals over in the NASCAR streets. No truck race today. There will be truck race early tomorrow morning, so don't let that sneak up on you. But aside from that, we have some WNBA action, a little 2-game slate later today as well. So should be a fun day of DFS. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there's a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim teams. Can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So I will be back for that show as well. It is Friday, so we do have our build review show at 5 p.m. Eastern. That'll be going live in about an hour here following this show. So just wanted to remind you guys about that as well. All right, let's get SaberSim up. We did have one question come in prior to the show, so we will start there. Hacksaw said, "What's up, Andrew? Took first place in NASCAR this past Sunday in the 20 max 10K to first. Right on. Congrats. That's awesome. If you guys aren't familiar with it, real quick, good opportunity to make a note of this. So we do have our SaberSim winner circle. It's like a promotion that we do. We'll go to like the how it works page. No, that's not what I want. Have an active SaberSim account, set your avatar to the SaberSim logo, and then tweet us a screenshot of your win, and then you are eligible for the prizes. So we have different prizes for different sets, like $1 million prize, like a 10K win would qualify for, where'd it go? 10K. 1 free month of SaberSim swag box, usually like, at least when I remember it, I don't know what it looks like these days. But when I was a customer and I won a swag box, it was koozies, stickers, water bottle, and maybe something else. I don't remember. But that's what the swag box is. And then you get a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a hat, which is all super cool. So this is what you get when you win, and then oh, hey, look, and there I am, surprisingly. You post a screenshot saying like, hey, this is my win. Thank you guys at SaberSim. And then our support team will get back to you from there. But yeah, check out the winner circle. If you're not participating in it, good opportunity. And you get a free month of SaberSim, right? So that's always good. But again, congrats on the 10K. All right. 2 questions now in the queue, which is great. First one, do I need to be setting different uniques for my 3 max, 20 max, and 150 max lineups? If so, could you demonstrate how to go about that in the autofill tab? Thank you. Yeah, so we actually talked about this yesterday's show as well, in case you missed it, but happy to talk about it again. So let's go over we'll go to the main slate. Twelve games. All right, it's going to build lineups. And then let's kick this off. So we'll just do 500 lineups, for example. So let's let these lineups run. Hacksaw said, yeah, I got one back in January when I won the 30K NBA contest. Got some cool stuff. Right on. Glad to hear you liked your swag box. I thought it was super cool. I was so excited when I got mine. And I saw like stickers lurking around different places on like different things. I have one on like my suitcase, like for when I go to the airport to like know that it's like my suitcase. So all right, these lineups are finishing up now, and we're gonna get into the post build. So when it comes to uniques, right? You got to remember that the number of uniques you can get to depends on how many lineups you need versus how many lineups are in your pool, right? So if I need 3 lineups out of 500, and we'll just cancel this sim. We don't need it. If I need 3 lineups out of 500, right? Okay, I might be able to get my uniques really, really high, right? I'm at 9 uniques, and I'm at 10 uniques. So there are 3 lineups in my pool of 500 that have at least 10 players different from every other lineup. Well, what if I just increase this to 20, right? Okay, at 20, there's not, right? This is telling me, hey, there are only 7 lineups in your pool that have 10 players different from every other lineup. So for 20, I have to go to a lower number of uniques than if I'm playing 3 lineups, right? The same thing would hold true for 150, right? Okay, if I need 150 here, well, at 8, there's only 39 lineups. Okay, well, what if I go down to like 6? At 6, there's not enough, and then maybe 5. So at 5, I would have to be 5 uniques for 150, right? So you could like do this every single day, like if you want to. I do it a little bit different, where basically I figure out the uniques that I can use for my 150. If I'm playing, say 150, 23, right? Just as an example, just using like most common entry limits. Then I will just say, okay, well, for 150, I'm going to use 5. For my 20 maxes, I'm going to use 6. For my 3 maxes, I'm going to use 7. And I just basically go, as I go down in entries, I go up in uniques. So I can autofill what you would do. Let me just pull up this autofill example. Okay, so if you're an autofill, right, it's going to look like this. What I would do is I would just sort by entries, and then I would just come in here and quickly change all the uniques. Like, okay, my 150 is going to be 5. My 20 maxes, when sorted by entries, will be right under it. I'm just going to hit 6 for those. When my 3 maxes, I'm going to hit 7. For the single entries, you don't have to do anything, right? The uniques doesn't matter. You're going to get the same lineup, whether you have 1 unique on or 9 uniques on, it's going to be the same because uniques comparing lineups to each other within a contest. Well, there's only 1 lineup, so it's not going to matter. But that's the way I would be doing it. That's the way I personally do it, is like scale those uniques. So, and then sorting by entries and quickly filling in autofill is what I think is the best option. All right, let me refresh this. So good question there. Good one to get us started. Question from Jonesy. Jonesy said, when looking at Contest Flashback, it seems a lot of the winners have a win rate between 20 to 30, but a lot of people say it doesn't matter. And he takes on a filter for this for large GPPs. I would be shocked if people have a win rate between 20 and 30%. I think maybe we're talking about different metrics. Because even in like small field stuff where people are like maxing, like take like a 12 max, like 300 man, I only see win rates between like 6 and 7%. And I still think that's high. Or I think those are like good players like entering really strong lineups. So like 20 to 30% win rate sounds pretty wild. But let's just go back to like a past slate. Yeah, because you said large GPPs too. So like the way I think about this is, let's say we go back to yesterday's main. Gosh, I wanted the Houston-Pittsburgh game to get postponed so bad. and it just like ruined me with Framber Valdez just like throwing an absolute gem. Not what I was hoping for. All right. So let's take like this 300 man 9 max contest. Okay. So if it's 9 max and it's 300, like say you're maxing this, right? All right. So your raw odds of winning are about 3%. Okay. So it'd be like, it's like 33.33 times 3, or maybe my math's wrong here. No, I'm like pretty sure. Or like how many times does 9 go into 300? Maybe that's it. Yeah, 3%. Okay, I just had the numbers backwards. So this is, you round 2 decimals, 3%. So your raw chance of winning, if you max this contest, is 3%. Okay, so let me come in here, and then we're going to look at people who maxed it. And we're going to put 9, and then we're going to sort by sim ROI. So like some of the highest win rates here are basically like double the raw chances here, right? So we're saying that like on average, these people are entering like good lineups, right? Because their win rates are coming in higher. This is like the highest I've really ever seen. And because when you go into like these large field GPPs, right? Okay, we'll take this, 7,800 man, right? Okay, well then you do like 150 divided by 7,843. This is 1. So like if you max this out, you're taking up about 2% of the entries, right? So if you are twice as good as, all the other lineups in your contest, then your win rate should still be like somewhere closer to like 4%. So I feel like we're talking past each other like a little bit. I might not like fully be understanding what you're asking. So yeah, like highest win rates here, like 5%, 4% ish, right? So like this is kind of what I expected to see. So let me know if we're like talking about a different metric. I'd be happy to circle back on this one. But I don't think you need to do any like special filtering for win rate or anything like that, right? So let's just like do a demo. So let's go back to today. And we'll go back to the main. And we'll go to MLB, not golf. So we'll just use the build that we already ran, but this time I will run the contest sim. So I'm going to kick that off. And then let's just say we need 20 lineups. All right, so we ran the contest sim. We sort by ROI. So the only things I would recommend, right, are an ROI filter for sure. So we come in, we do ROI greater than 0. So the big reason for this one, right, is because I've seen it where like people increase the uniques, but then like their last lineup ends up being like negative ROI, where maybe their average is good, but they're pushing themselves too far down. So if you just like have the ROI filter, it's just more of like a safety net. It'll just like stop you from getting negative ROI lineups, even if you don't mean to, right? It could happen on accident. So that's why I like that filter. The other thing I see in Flashback is that sometimes people have too low of projection, right? They might just be getting a little bit too different with their lineups, and it might be unintentional. So then like, again, this is like another like kind of safeguard, right? We're trying to protect ourselves from making mistakes. Somebody explained this concept to me like a long time ago, where it's like sometimes people are so worried about about finding like the best player, like finding the right play, and like that's all they try to do. You could effectively do the opposite where you try to avoid the bad plays and you don't worry about the winning plays. And if you just focus on avoiding the bad plays, then you're more likely to fall into the winning lineup or like the winning plays, right? So it's a little bit like a twist, right? People are like, okay, I want to get to these guys. Well, you're kind of going opposite. Like I want to avoid these particular players, right? And it could be players that are too chalky, players with not enough value, players who are maybe like getting steamed and things like that, right? So you can try and like avoid some of those plays, and then you don't really have any opinions about who you think are going to do good, but it'll just ultimately like kind of raise your floor. So that's a little bit of like a tangent, but it's like an interesting concept. Like somebody introduced to me like a long time ago. I think it was Max Steinberg, not sure. So again, here with projection, right? One thing I see is that people's floors can be too low. So again, this is like a safeguard, right? We're trying to protect ourselves here. I want to make sure that the floor of my lineups is like pretty good, right? So like show lineups with projection greater than X, right? And then I don't know, let's say like 95. Okay, that's a little high. 292 lineups in the trash. Let's try like 91. Okay, little high still. I'm pretty sure 89 is going to be like perfect. 89 is like really close. I say like 10 to 20-ish%. This is a little bit more aggressive. I like 109. So I could go down one more, but like this is like fine for the example here. So then when you turn these on together, right? I always like to see this where, okay, I had 109 in the trash with projection. I have ROI, I have 236. So if you combine those, that means that there should be 345 lineups in the trash. But when I turn them on together, I only get 258. So there's actually a lot of overlap there, right? Because with projection on, I had 109. With ROI on, I had 236. So I'm not getting all of them. I'm not getting 345, right? Maybe a lot of the ones with the low projection were actually negative ROI. So it's nice to see that even the contest sim here, right, understands that, hey, a lot of these lower ROI are a lot of these lower projected lineups, even though they're coming up in the game sim, even though they're coming up as viable, they just don't do well enough, often enough to end up being positive ROI. So it's nice to see that like the pre-contest sim and the post-contest sim agree on that point here, right? Because you see so much overlap between the lineups that are going into the trash, okay? So these are the main ones I recommend. Jonesy followed up, said, I got win rate and cash rate swapped. I was looking at cash rate. Gotcha. So the big reason we don't focus too much on cash rate, okay, is because like if you go to the contest tab, right? And we'll just let this load. Let's let this refresh really quick. Jellybean said, is there a reason why SaberSim does not support single round golf? So we do support single round golf for DraftKings. We do not support single round golf for FanDuel at the moment. I think it's something that we want to support in the near future. It's just not something that our team has been able to prioritize setting up. So single round golf for DraftKings only at the moment. All right, let's get back to this conversation. So back to the contest tab. Try this again. And this is for today's slate. All right. So come in here and like look at these cash rates, right? 20-ish%. Avoid the satellites. 20 to 25% is like pretty normal, right? We see 20. We see 21.9. We see 22. We see 25.8, 23.3, right? So somewhere in between that like 20 to 25 band, right? Well, if you actually like go and look at like the payout structures of these contests, right? And we could just like pull one up. Why not? Let's do like the $4.20 max, right? 25%. Okay, let's just go to this. And we're going to go to full contest details. All right. So the last paid position gets $6. Okay. So that is 1.5 times your entry fee. Okay. So in order to cash, you need to be in the top 25%. That is like a 4 to 1 chance, right? There's a 4 to 1. There's like a, 1 out of 4 times you're going to cash. Well, when you are cashing, you are not getting 4 times your money. You're getting 1.5 times your money. So like imagine like you're playing roulette, like at the casino, right? Typically roulette pays like 35 to 1 on the number. And usually there's like 37, 38 numbers, right? That's like the hold. But imagine like you're playing roulette, you hit a number, and then instead of paying you 35 to 1, they're like, yeah, we're going to pay you 15 to 1. You're like, whoa, like this game is crazy. Like, why would I ever play this game? Right? Like that is effectively like that's why we tell people don't try to cash. Like if you try to cash and only cash, you're gonna lose money in the long term, right? Because you're just not getting paid enough for cashing. But the way you make money in DFS is those few times a year where you come in first place. Because look at these percent to first, 30% to first, 25% to first, 16, 10% is like the flattest, right? So like when you hit that first place, DFS payout structures aren't just like this steady line up, right? It's like kind of low, and then like boom, like shoots up like really, really fast, right? Or if you look at backwards, like it comes down really, really fast, like do like these. The payout positions are, multiplicative. I think that's a word. They multiply, right? So building lineups that have high upside that can get into the top 1% of your contest, the top 0.1%, sometimes the top 0.01% is ultimately what you need to try to do in order to turn a profit, right? You need to get into the top 10. You need to get into the top 5, top 3. You need to win every once in a while, right? So focusing on lineups, because like if you look at this contest, right? Where were we? $4.20 max. There's 8,900 entries, right? We'll just round here. So you have 8,900 entries. So the top 10% is 890. So then we need to be, okay, well, let's try top 1%, 89. Okay, let's try 0.001. So this is the top 0.1%. So imagine this is the 99.9th percentile of the contest. Oops, did that backwards. I was supposed to multiply. 0.001. So in order to get 9th place in this contest, you need to be in the top 99.9th percentile, right? This is why we don't focus on cashing. This is why we don't, use average projection, right? We don't want averages. We want lineups that can get, that high up in a contest, even higher, obviously, right? We need to be in the top 0.005, like even like, half of this, right? So that's the big thing there. That's why we're not super focused on it. We do know like projection matters and stuff. That's why, projection is a variable, like as an example, like in Saber Score, projection is a variable. It's not the heaviest weighted variable. But we do know that lineups need a good floor, right? Like what we see in Flashback, like, hey, sim average score does matter somewhat, right? And it's like, okay, we're not disagreeing with that. We're saying it matters, but we're saying, if you're going to put projection and percentiles together, we're going to weight percentile 70% and we're going to weight projection 30%, right? We know it is more important to try and get lineups that have a high top 1% finish. And we're saying it's twice as important effectively here based on the variables, right? And it's important to fade ownership to some extent here, right? So that's the idea we take. That's like the approach we take. And then hopefully that answers your question as to like why we think it's not super important to focus on that. All right. Good stuff there. Good stuff there. A lot of good questions today. Think we are all caught up here in the YouTube chat and office hours channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back in about 30 minutes for our build review show. So until then, everybody take care. Thanks for tuning in.